This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, it's the Friday News Roundup, and we're going to talk about the latest on the Madison police fatal shooting. New Marquette polling is in for the governor's race and mark a series of major public projects that have opening dates. Plus, for our special Neighbors Only segment, a new documentary on longtime Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster, the legend himself, Bob Uecker. That documentary is coming to Madison, and we're itching to talk about it. With me now is my wonderful teammates, executive producer Haley Sperling. Hello.
Hi, Bianca. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And Rob Thomas, our newsletter editor. Hi.
Hey, Bianca. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here. Good to be together. I just want to acknowledge right away up top that today is a hard day. It's been a hard week, and I'd be lying if I didn't say my instinct is to go crawl in a ball and hide under blankets for the next millennia. That said, we're here to bring the news, and it's one of the ways that we can be of service in this hard week. The city continues to grapple with the heavy news of the fatal police shooting of a young Black man on Willie Street earlier this week. For a rundown of what happened on Wednesday specifically, I really encourage folks to go find our episode in your feeds on our website from yesterday. If you haven't, Haley and I spoke about the incident and the resulting protests. Because Haley, you went out to the protests on Willie Street, up East Washington, over to the Capitol Square. So you got a lot of intel there. You've got more of the story today and the ensuing aftermath.
Yeah, so to be honest, there are not a whole lot of updates to give here. So I want to give a quick little recap of what happened for folks who might just be learning about this story now. On Wednesday afternoon, police responded to a call on Willie Street after reports were made about someone allegedly checking car doors and stealing bikes. Police later located, chased, and attempted to physically restrain the man. Police Chief John Patterson laid out details of the altercation at a press conference Wednesday afternoon. He said that the suspect had a knife and that an officer was injured by it. That officer then fired his weapon multiple times, killing the man who was at that point on the ground. I know this is a pretty vague description of what happened, and this, I'm not going to lie, is on purpose. There is still a lot that needs to be confirmed here. One, I do not want to spread misinformation. And two, I don't want to re-traumatize people by sharing these details. Several bystanders filmed and posted videos online shortly after the incident happened. We've seen the videos. It is incredibly unsettling. I don't recommend people watch those. Following the shooting, as Bianca, you mentioned, protest formed on the scene, and then later folks marched down to the Capitol Square where Concerts on the Square was right about to kick off. And protesters shut down that event. The Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, they made the call too. They said, hey, we're canceling this event in solidarity with the community right now. And Bianca and I, we talked more about that Wednesday night at length in yesterday's podcast. So again, check it out.
I can imagine our local officials have so much on their minds right now. I mean, this is about as heavy and serious as it comes. I've been seeing a lot of official statements and reactions online. Haley, what have we seen on that front from local officials?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's putting out statements. The mayor, along with city council members, Governor Tony Evers, as well as the candidates in the running for governor, as well as County Executive Melissa Agard, they all shared statements that revolve something around, a general sentiment of hurt, sadness, anger, questions, looking for answers. Here's part of Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway's statement. She said, quote, "There is real pain in our city right now. It's an absolute tragedy when a member of our community is killed by anyone, but especially by the police. I understand the anger, grief, and fear people are feeling because I'm feeling that too. As a city, as a community, as a society, we need to do better," unquote.
When I saw the mayor's post, that really hit me, particularly that part of her blatantly saying that she is angry as well. And I know at the top of that statement, her saying, I am angered and saddened by what happened today, and talking about heartbreaking for folks who had to witness the shooting. I think, yeah, it's powerful to start out and be like, I'm mad too.
I think the really sad thing is that we've had enough examples of this. The public officials are getting better about their statements. to be blunt, because we've dealt with this so many times. I agree. That's a very powerful statement, and it properly centers the person who was killed while also talking about the broader pain that it brings to the community.
Yeah, I think that's a very astute and devastating observation, truly. Governor Tony Evers, in his statement, he said, quote, "There must be transparency and accountability in any investigation moving forward. We will continue to keep the loved ones and family of the individual who was killed in our hearts and prayers. His life mattered. As folks exercise their First Amendment rights tonight and in the days ahead, we urge them to do so peacefully and respectfully." So that was also another theme that came through a lot of these statements, which is like a little bit of like a backhanded nod at protesters, city public officials, county officials, state officials. They're basically saying like, you can protest, but you better be good about it. Which, whose definition of good is that supposed to be? That's not for me to say, and that is up to the protesters in question to deliver on that. You know, I think one thing that's frustrating for me after reading all of these statements and just seeing how our community has responded in time is that it's really not on us. It's not on public officials. It's not on press to tell people how to feel. It's our duty as press here to deliver the news and to deliver the information. And I believe it is the duty of public officials to deliver the resources for the community that needs. But how people react and how people act is truly on them and not on us to, for lack of a better word, police. And, you know, speaking of First Amendment rights, there was a vigil last night, and City Council Vice President Carmela Glenn encouraged people to show up and make their voices heard. Also at Thursday night's police civilian oversight meeting, which was virtual. So I think people were registering to speak there. City Council President Sabrina Madison is also organizing community listening sessions for folks to be able to come in and talk and ask questions directly of their elected officials and the independent police monitor. The first one was supposed to be last night, but it's been postponed because of a timing conflict with that vigil.
I think your point is well made, Haley, about like, we're not here to tell people how to feel or think, but I am here to share that I'm disgusted. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. And even if they weren't, like, I just have to be honest about, you know, watching that video is quite vile. And I don't even know what to say. I know, Haley, you said you wouldn't recommend it. I don't know if I would say that if I recommend it or not. It's one of those complicated things when you see someone lose their life. And in these circumstances, we just see it so often. And some people are saying they feel numb, but obviously a lot of people are still feeling activated. And it happened a couple blocks, a block and a half away from one of the more traumatic points of recent history for Madison is the death of Tony Robinson and that police shooting that feels so fresh.
And this happened, you know, in broad daylight with cameras all around at one of the most recognizable intersections in the city. Like, Crystal Corner is right there. Like, I mean, the spotlight could not have been brighter, and this still happened. And, you know, I was overseas for a while, and I can't imagine what that would have been like, you know, to be not in the community when this happened. This is awful, but I am at least a little grateful that that I'm back and part of with you guys as the city's dealing with this.
Grateful that you're back too. Yeah, it does feel better to be together with each other.
Yeah. So, like, what can people do, like, when, you know, if they need support right now?
Yeah, there are a few resources out there. You know, of course, being in community, attending those vigils, being with your friends and family. Of course, the mayor pointed to the National 988 hotline, but locally there are a few options as well. NAMI Dane County put together a list of resources, including the Dane County 24/7 crisis hotline, the Solstice House Peer Run Warm Line, and the NAMI Dane County Peer Support Group. And so we will put a link to those resources as well in our show notes for folks who might be in need and who are just looking for a little bit of extra support these coming days, because I know we all are, you know, in our own ways.
And we'll certainly be watching and waiting for those community listening sessions to get rescheduled, share those dates out with you when we know when they're happening. We'll be having Common Council President Sabrina Madison on the show in the coming weeks to talk about a series of issues for the city, but certainly including this incident and city policing. I know that's a top discussion at the council these days. And of course, we will continue to follow the story as it develops and bring you the latest. We're going to turn to some more news in just a moment, but that'll be after a quick break.
Hey y'all, it's Haley here. I'm coming to you at about 5:25 p.m. on Thursday. I wanted to give you guys an update to say after we finished recording our Friday news update, the city of Madison held a press conference with more information about this week's police-involved shooting. Here is an update on what we know and what happened. Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway at the press conference identified the man who was killed in this shooting as Corey Ruiz. He was in his 30s, but neither police nor city officials would confirm his exact age or date of birth. At the press conference, things got a little bit tense when about 20 minutes in, a group of protesters led by a man who identified himself as Carlos Dixon interrupted the whole press conference. After about 10 minutes, the interrupters essentially joined the reporters and community members in asking questions of the mayor, city council president Sabrina Madison, and police chief John Patterson. It took some time to de-escalate the situation. Independent police monitor Arameet Glass, along with community organizer Clyde Mayberry, stepped in to help de-escalate the situation and help return control of the press conference to Police Chief John Patterson, who was speaking. I should note that the whole thing, while was disruptive, remained peaceful, and the entire press conference remained peaceful even after the disruption. The final note of intrigue in this update is that the mayor voiced her support for body camera funding in next year's budget, citing a reduced price tag. She said, quote, "I think being at a lower price tag, it's doable." So Madison is looking to be getting some body cameras on its police force next year. As we said before, we'll continue to follow this story and give you guys all the updates that we can as they come in. Things are moving at a very rapid pace here, and we're doing our best to keep y'all updated. So stay tuned.
Alrighty, we are switching gears now to something we've been talking about a lot, believe it or not, the governor's race. Wisconsin governor, it's up for grabs. Rob, there was a big new poll released this week. Does it provide any clarity about where things stand ahead of the August 11th primary?
Well, yes and no, Bianca. The Marquette University Law School poll released its latest numbers in the hotly contested Democratic primary on Tuesday, but the big caveat was the poll was conducted in the middle of several seismic events in the race. So it's hard to know whether these provide a good snapshot of where the race is or if the numbers are already outdated. So specifically, surveyors started polling 838 registered Wisconsin voters on July 8th, which you might remember was the day that Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley dropped out of the race. More on that in a bit. And they ended on July 16th, which was before Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez suspended her campaign after big fundraising discrepancies were revealed. And that was before Crowley jumped back into the race, this time with the endorsement of Governor Tony Evers.
This whiplash is like killing me. The back and forth. And then it's like Marquette poll. And it's like, yeah, but does any of this matter?
I kind of feel bad for the pollsters who like July 8th, they're like, oh yeah, this is probably a good time. Let's start polling. And then like the race explodes while they're trying to get the numbers. And like, it's a snapshot of a time when before things have just completely been upended.
Yeah, this is a really interesting factor to consider, the fact that we know all of this went down after this polling and the establishment candidate, even back then, wasn't leading. So that, I think that says something.
how useful are these results looking at these, Rob, like now knowing what we know now today?
Right. Well, poll director Charles Franklin told the Cap Times that if nothing else, that perhaps the most useful aspect of the poll is showing that races are really volatile and very quickly fortunes can change, and they're not meant to predict how the election is going to go, but simply show where things are at a certain moment in time. But just to get to the numbers in that moment in time, State Rep Francesca Hong had the support in the poll of 26% of Democratic respondents, and former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes had 15%. Rodriguez had 11% because, again, she was still on the ballot when they were conducting this poll. Crowley was not an option at the time for respondents because, again, he had left the race at that time. Farther down the results, former Evers Department of Administration Secretary Joel Brennan had 2%, and State Senator Kelda Royce had 1%. Speaking of Brennan, we've been trying to get all the candidates in both parties for interviews on the podcast. And Bianca, you had a really great interview with Brennan earlier this week. I think that folks should go back and check out. You guys bonded over public service and your shared love of cribbage. I really enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable. I mean, color me impressed. I think he did a really great job in that conversation of laying out like how his experience as a cabinet official translates into effectiveness as the governor. And of course, cribbage is fantastic. So yeah, we definitely go back and check that out. But it's interesting. There's been a little bit of controversy, I guess you could say. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported this week, and I saw Madison 365 had a piece on this as well. But the Journal-Sentinel said, quote, Brennan is being criticized over a new campaign ad that targets the field's candidates of color who are leading in the polls as being unelectable and doesn't mention the only other white candidate in the race. So I watched the ad, and the ad says Brennan's opponents, Francesca Hong, Mandela Barnes, and David Crowley, cannot beat U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany. We've been asking that of each candidate. How are you going to beat Tom Tiffany if you move on? But he doesn't mention Kelda Royce, who, like Brennan, is a white person. So maybe an oversight by his team. Kelda, is not necessarily at the same polling numbers as the other ones, depending on where you're looking, but hard to ignore that this kind of lands in that dog whistle category. And that's not a good look to have that ad. It raises some questions.
I think it's wild to make that claim when you're polling that low in the race. I mean, like Mr. 2%, I like my candidates like I like my milk. I mean, I think that is wild to make that statement.
Mr. 2%, put that on a t-shirt. That's so good.
I think you can run with that. Yeah.
Honestly, you could. I do think, Bianca, like you're saying, I think the term unelectable in this race is very much like a racist dog whistle here. Like we are seeing it being levied against candidates, like almost exclusively candidates of color across the board. And like maybe this was, giving Brennan's team the benefit of the doubt, like maybe this was an oversight, but it still does not change those optics here about, the larger conversation that folks are having in the media and that pollsters and Democratic insiders are having about quote unquote electability and whatnot. It really... We got to move past this. We need to move past this, right? Like there has to be a bigger issue at hand, like literally everything else that is going on in our state right now.
I agree. We do need to move past that and knock that off if any of that is happening. And people are reporting that it looks like it is. Rob, what else do we know? Did we learn?
Well, actually getting back to the poll, I mean, they did also ask candidates who they thought could beat Tiffany in a matchup. And even though Francesca Hong, as I mentioned, led the field, it was Barnes who was the only candidate who respondents felt could beat the presumed Republican candidate, Tom Tiffany, by a 44-40 margin. In that matchup, Hong fell short by a 40-43 in that same matchup. So it definitely is on the mind of Democrats, and maybe part of the reason why, as the Wisconsin State Journal pointed out, 48% of Democrats, which is nearly half, said they were still undecided less than a month before the election.
48. 1848, Wisconsin became a state. That's a lot. That's a lot of undecideds.
That's right. That's right. So Marquette announced that they will release another statewide poll in just 5 days on next Wednesday, July 29th. So we'll see what those results are and who's still in the race and who's out and then back in.
We'll do this all again soon. All right. Well, that's it for the governor's race this week. We've got more to discuss, but before we do, let's take a quick break. All right, we're back, and there's a ton of announcements around openings, milestone projects, getting their day, ribbons to be cut. Starting with the biggie this week, the news, the Madison Public Market was supposed to have its grand opening and ribbon cutting on Thursday, but in the wake of the police shooting, it has been postponed. If you read our newsletter or you heard about the fact that we were going to be there, CityCast Madison was going to be a part of that opening, we'll just have to wait. And we all feel like that was absolutely the right choice. It's very hard to be in a celebratory mood this week. So I'm grateful for them reading the room there. We will let you know when they officially reschedule. That date isn't out, but we're very close to an opening there. And heck, you know what they say, that classic saying, don't give up on your dreams, because sometimes they take 2 decades to come true.
Yeah, right. We will wait a little bit longer for the public market because we've been waiting a little bit longer for the public market. And yeah, I think like you said, Bianca, it's just all about reading the room right now. The vibes in the city, like people are not in a celebratory mood right now, and rightfully so. And I don't think it would be fair for us to have to go up and, you know, put on smiles and pretend that things are okay when we just know that they're not. So I'm really grateful to the opportunity that the public market presented to us in the form of a live taping. I really hope that we can get something rescheduled with that too. But, you know, I do think ultimately for the community's sake and for everyone's sake here that this was the right call.
And it's supposed to be a public market for all the community, right? So that is absolutely, you know, to read the room, like you said.
Yeah. Well, carrying on with noteworthy opening announcements, we got some recent news of a quite celebratory nature, and it would be nice to have a little bit of positive feeling, which is the Imagination Center at Rindale Park's opening date is set September 25th. Our city's first brand new library in 25 years, and that feels good. Resources for the community. The Imagination Center is a multifunctional indoor-outdoor facility, so it's more than just a library, but it'll contain the library plus this 4-season Parks Pavilion. I know that this is so needed. It is a community resource going into an area that really doesn't have spaces for folks to meet. So this is, you know, this is welcome news and exciting.
Yeah, first library in 25 years, like that's insane. And I feel like we just have to give so much credit, one, to library staff for pushing this forward and for working on it, but also to our alder, Sabrina Madison, city council president. She has really been a champion of this Imagination Center from the jump, really advocating that this is a much needed resource. There aren't places for kids to go after school over there. We are constantly lamenting about the lack of third spaces. And so big shout out to her for making the Imagination Center a reality. I think this is huge for the city all around.
And folks, go back and listen to that conversation. I talked with Sabrina Madison when she was pushing for this. And she still is, obviously.
And it's such a cool, like if you've looked at the plans or any photos from the development, it's such a cool building. Like it feels like a 2026 library with its indoor-outdoor space. And there's this really cool public art project that just got approved that's going to be up front. Like it's really going to be spectacular.
It's bringing the excitement back for me of going to the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. I mean, honestly, like all this ribbon cutting talk and talking about up-to-date, modern, worthy of Madisonians, it's exciting to see. And there is another announcement, last but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, a much-needed social safety net, public resource, the men's shelter for men experiencing houselessness. That has an opening date. Dane County, Porchlight, Daylight and the city of Madison announced that the shelter will open on September 1st. So that's over on Madison's east side on Bartolon Drive. That's a 6-year collaborative effort, which the need for a men's shelter and a bigger men's shelter became increasingly apparent when church-based shelters started closing during COVID-19. And yeah, the need in the city has not gone down. Everything's more expensive. Really, the need has gone up. And this will be Dane County's first ever purpose-built men's shelter.
This is huge. Again, a much needed resource in our city. I know there's a lot of questions about like if this space will be enough to meet the need that there is for this kind of resources in our town. And unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that. And I think we're kind of leaning towards it's a wait and see type of thing. But either way, I think it is a step in the right direction for our city to have this big opening and to show the commitment here, because I think that there is still such a huge need to be addressed when it comes to homelessness and housing insecurity in general in Madison. And this is a big step for that.
Yeah. And I mean, if folks want to know about the details of the building, this is going to be a 42,000 square foot, 2-story building that features smaller split rooms with a mix of single and bunk beds, individual lockers, a commercial kitchen, and laundry facilities. There are still some questions about funding. It should note that the city is trying to secure the 24/7-hour service funding for the shelter. And they said that it will be possible to do so only when funding for the added operational costs is raised from non-governmental sources. So I know work is underway there. And yeah, again, we just want to shout out everyone who's putting in the work, hard work and hours to bring these resources to life. We're looking forward to it. We see you. And I know that some of you are listening right now. So thank you. And let's stay on that positive note and turn to our neighbor shout outs. Haley, you've got the first one.
Yes, I do. Our first neighborhood shout out is coming from Molly M. She says, quote, "You have 47,000 photos. How many does your family actually see? Reminisce organizes them into albums, wall arts, and memories worth sharing. I know I could use something exactly like that because my iCloud storage is constantly full."
Same. Rob, who do we have next?
Well, BJT wrote, "I recently boarded my dog at Luna Pet Resort on Pennsylvania Avenue. The staff treated my dog with the utmost love and care as if he was theirs. They went above and beyond in their care for him and communication with me. No better place to take your dog for a sleepaway camp or daycare." And as someone who was on vacation recently and left our 2 dogs at home and under care, like I know how important it is. You can't really enjoy yourself if you're thinking about your dogs back home and worrying about them. So that's really nice to hear.
Luna Pet Resort. All right, we've got one last one. This is from Leah K, who wants to shout out Java Cat Coffee House near the Easttown Mall. Such a good one. Their coffee and gelato are amazing. The staff is very pleasant and the atmosphere is unmatched. The building is a charming little house with a huge yard with lots of shaded seating and quiet corners to relax under a tree. You never know you were near a bunch of strip malls. I tend to stop by when I'm shopping, but I could hang out there all day. Yeah, Java Cat's kind of magic. That's such a good description.
I do love it there. It is so cute. It's so like kitschy, quirky Madison. And like, yeah, it's right next to Target, but you don't feel like that.
No, it feels like you're going to like a really cool old house, and like it's got this huge patio area. And like you said, you can just go to Portillo's if you right when you're done or something.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leah. Thank you, BJ. Thank you, Molly. We really appreciate y'all neighbors and writing in. Hey, if you out there want to become a neighbor and share your own, head to membership.citycast.fm/Madison. You'll get those great perks and more, like ad-free listening, member-exclusive events and emails, and you'll hear our neighbors only segment on this podcast. That's coming up next. We are going to be talking about the legendary Bob Uecker and a new documentary on him. Again, if you want to hear that and get those other perks, become a member today. Head to membership.citycast.fm/Madison. Haley Sperling, our executive producer, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bianca.
And Rob, not Rob Uecker. And Rob
Uecker.
Rob Uecker. Bobbert. And Rob Thomas, thank you for doing the news roundup with us.
Oh, of course, Bianca.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. We're produced by Jedi Siri Ramos. Katie McMurran is our post-production producer with help this week from Elizabeth Kama. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music this week by Wendy Marchini and Sarah the Instrumentalist from Epidemic Sounds via Getty Images. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Madison newsletter. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with somebody who loves the library and openings? If they have good scissors, we got ribbon cuttings coming up. Get ready. All right. And in all seriousness, take very good care. We know this has been a hard week. Thank you for being here with us. It means a lot. And we will see you back here Monday morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, thanks for listening and take good care.